Well, good morning, party people. I mean, I hope you're nice and bright and shiny and awake this morning, cause God knows I'm not. So hey, what's up, guys? I know some of you are not going to be here today. Some of you are going to be catching in later. So hey to you all when you do. It's gonna be a very chill day. Last 2 days have kind of been a little bit of a rush. We had Leo's demo that I did a dry run on live, and then the day after that, I had to go ahead and do her actual demo for Gray Matter. And then last night, I got a ton of emails regarding some work opportunities that I now have to tackle today, and probably going to consume a good amount of my focus after this. So I'm probably going to go on many an excited ramble and tangents. And hey, Matt, good morning. I hope you're doing well, sweetheart. If you have the time later and I managed to get this what is it? I have to create a syllabus to send in as a proposal before I actually get this job contract that I'm looking at. But anyways, once I get that done, I want to play you in some Hearthstone. They took away the buggy Death Rattle Tavern mode, and now I'm sad. I can't wait for that one to come back. It's so weird how playing that game mode made me feel incredibly better about my own coding skills, because if Blizzard has had a game that's been out for just it's like been out for over 5 years, right? That game is has it reached 10 years yet? I don't know. Anyways, the point is that game has been out forever, and Death Rattle was one of the original mechanics. So to watch the game cripple under just chaining those mechanics together in terms of bugs to the point of fatal errors, oh my god, like I have never felt better about my own coding skills than when looking at that game. And oh, let's see here. So you and I encountered an issue where you just randomly surrendered. That was hilarious. I encountered another issue where after chaining like 20 like 10 to 15 different death rattle effects, the game just froze for both me and the opponent. We could emote back and forth at each other, but nothing happened. And that was a bug related to the rope timer for whatever reason. And I think it's just because when you chain so many death rattles together and you go overboard on the rope time limit, I think something there is causing a cascading error that they need to look at in terms of their logic loops. Yeah. Oh yeah, it was so funny, Buggy. I really enjoyed just the absurdity to it. Also because it displayed not just some flaws in like the logic, but also how these cards are displayed. I thought it was incredibly fun, though frustrating, to play that game mode and to never once, outside of the initial pop-up, to be told what the death rattle effect was. So outside of summoning the monster and then triggering it, you couldn't actually plan around things. So if you missed a couple of frames, your game lagged or anything like that, you don't actually have the ability to know what death rattles were on your cards. Yeah, I just found it very amusing how the game just crippled under a season one mechanic. This was like something that came out when the game was initially launched, if I remember right. This is not like something new that they're just experimenting with and they're tossing out these tavern games so that they can go ahead and get a handle on what bugs to fix and massive use cases. No, this is just a mechanic that's been around forever, and this game mode highlighted just how buggy the entire system is. Could you imagine somebody going into like, and I do believe this is probably one of the reasons why Blizzard does not do a lot of tournaments with this, is probably because one, the ROI has got to be horrible for it if you're not League of Legends, and two, you can't display a game that is this buggy at a tournament. Holy hell. Especially when the Death Rattle cards somehow Oh, yeah, that happened too. Death rattle cards would go off while they were in your deck. Death rattles would affect the wrong opponents sometimes. There were times when I pulled cards from my hand directly to the board that never got the death rattle applied properly to them. Like that game mode was atrocious, and I think that's one of the reasons that I particularly enjoyed it from like a just a player's perspective was how chaotic it is. But from the coding view that I have, it just it makes me so happy. It's so delicious to see a AAA company having some bugs and I have never outside of Hearthstone, I can't say I've played Blizzard games. I was definitely way more into Pokemon when like the World of Warcraft and what's the other one that they do? Overwatch, when those two crazes hit, right? I was playing a lot of Pokemon and League of Legends at the time, so Blizzard games didn't really register on my radar. But I did used to watch a lot of Hearthstone, and I did used to watch some of like the content from some of the Blizzard streamers, and I always found it really amusing how the company as a whole seems to, and that part is important, seems to have this thing where instead of actually fixing bugs, they kind of just wall them off and pretend they don't exist. And I feel like that was pretty well displayed with like the death rattle effects, right? Like if the game was having problems, it'd literally just force one of us to surrender. You'd have to start a new game, boom, egregious errors dealt with, you no longer have to worry about them, right? Because it's a fun game mode and nobody actually expects these things to practically happen in ranked. But from my understanding, World of Warcraft also did a lot of the same things. They go ahead and design these spaces that were supposed to be instances, and then they would have to like they'd have to like block them off with new walls and things like that to keep the walls behind them from being inaccessible instead of just deleting that room. So I don't understand Blizzard's approach to bug fixing, especially when they're known errors. That one just has always confused me. They've had a really weird approach to that kind of stuff for the longest time, where it seems like a lot of their bugs just get swept under the rug. And I'd like to say that that's individual to Blizzard, but it's not. Game companies are doing that stuff all the time, and pretty shamelessly so. That's why we get so many buggy releases these days. I quarantine the bugs or they spread. Well, I mean, yeah, that sounds about right actually. I think it was just overall a design approach that worked once for them, and they said, "Fuck it, let's do it wholesale," and they did, and they can get away with it, quite frankly. You know, that's a Blizzard being Blizzard moment, and again, 10 minutes into a stream, me sitting here chilling, talking, and I've done absolutely nothing so far, and it's just, oh man, it makes me so happy. So first thing I have to do is I actually have to go ahead and find our old conversation in GPT that has there we go. I will say this, the GPT is set up really nice, organizing things by timetable, and then it breaks it into past 24 hours, past 7 days, and the past month. So I just have to scroll down to the end of the last 7 days since we're on a schedule, and I know that this right here, this is going to be the script that I need. Oh, look at that. Good times. Good times. So I will be honest, I have no idea where we left off or why GPT seems to be having some issues scrolling, and I'm pretty sure it's just because in the playground, one, it's having some problems loading, two, because of just how large this like conversation log is. Oh, oh man, I'm so smart. My dumb ass went, "Oh, I have no idea what's going on. I wish I would have left some notes for myself." And look at that. I left some notes for myself. I love when they just sneak up on you like that. Okay. I suppose it'll help if maybe I open the files from our TCG as well, and we're not just staring at the little intro screen for the next 30 minutes. It's gonna be under commands, right? It's gonna be the biggest one. Yep, here's all of our commands. Bam. And then we're gonna need our database files too. That's gonna be another big thing. I'll tell you what, I am excited because I think by next week I'm gonna have a bunch of music made, and that way when I start doing the streaming stuff again, all I have to do is a whole lot of chill. I can just hang out and play some music and not feel as rushed, and life will be Gucci. Alright, so there's all the files for our TCG right now. And there's some info about where we are. I suppose the next thing I need to do is, well, obviously we have to boot up the bot because I've been so distracted this morning that I haven't even booted up Ari, which is sad. So when I say that like I'm distracted, oh man, I don't think I've shut up about this since yesterday. I have to be under a huge NDA for this that I have to sign, but obviously there's still some things that I can go ahead and discuss with certain people. And I have not stopped going off about this or like building this damn syllabus, and gotta go to the desktop. I gotta concentrate because I'll lose my place and I'll forget where I'm navigating to if I don't put this in. Ari, and then node app.js to start her up. There we go. Okay. So yeah, I got this job offer in and it looks amazing and I'm so super stoked for it, right? There's one problem though. So one, I don't know if I fully have it because I have to send in this proposal to them. One of the things they wanted included with that proposal, and I'm sorry, I'm just waiting for Ari to boot up. One of the things they wanted included with that proposal was definitely my certificates, and I don't know if I've been over this with you guys more than a dozen times yet or not, but your girl doesn't have any certificates. So that one's gonna be really awkward, but given that they reached out to me and I didn't actually apply for this job, I have stated absolutely nowhere that I have any certs, so ideally this is not going to be a problem. But until then, I'm gonna sit here and just try not to sweat that and hope that I offer them a good enough peer-reviewed proposal that they say hell yes. But that remains to be seen. In the meantime, all right, let's go ahead and take a look at where we are. I said something worked, so my assumption is that last week I know I was goofing around on stream a bunch and I ended up getting like absolutely nothing done because of course I did. And then I went over to the gray matter thing and coordinated with them a little bit for like a group coding session, and then I ended up actually getting some things done. So that's we're getting somewhere at least. I'm slowly remembering what's going on. By the way, in the future, note for other developers and note for myself, it's probably really not a good idea to go ahead and schedule out so many different projects and then have them run one day a week. You should probably run a whole project at once, and then the next project, and then the next project. I would definitely forget where I was a little bit less if I did it like that. Hopefully they don't care about the certifications and just ask because it's what they normally do. Yeah, that was my thought exactly, right? Like, my resume has tons of practical experience and stuff like that on it, and I don't think at the end of the day certifications should be there as a block to check. certifications should be there as a way to compensate for when you don't have practical projects to prove experience. And obviously, my idea on that is very skewed and very twisted because I haven't gone through any of the formal schooling, and even though I haven't, I will still tell you that in my mind, I view the practical experience and the certifications very similarly. But that isn't the same for all people, and I totally respect that being able to have a PhD in cybersecurity with 7 freaking certificates, who's an ethical hacker on hand to just poke and be like, hey, can I get some information on this? Like, I understand that that person has way much more schooling and way much more to offer in terms of educating others than I do in a lot of different areas, but when it comes to AI and when it comes to the basics and making things digestible for people, I really don't think they could have picked a better person for the job. Like I'm going to be able to rock out these slides and some practical demos, and it's going to be a whole day affair, and I'm super excited. And then Leo got picked up to go ahead and be the radio host for a conference. How cool is that? Oh my god, like everything just started just exploding all at once yesterday. My uh okay. I'll start with one thing and then I'll move to the other because it's good news after good news after good news, and I'm already like 20. I'm just doing nothing, just getting caught up. Okay, oh, self-esteem, what a surprise. Hey, hey, I don't know what to say to that one. So So yesterday I went through and I did the gray matter demo for Leo, right? And then one of the guys contacts me and tells me that he has a Caribbean AI conference set up for 150 plus educators, and he wants Leo to go ahead and be the radio host at that conference. And I 100% said that I was down for that because hell yeah, education projects. Um, so that was awesome. And then my mentor called me and he was like, hey, I need you to go ahead and talk to this lady, give her a ring. So I gave her a call, and basically now my resume is like in a huge contractors database, and she said that if any of the jobs that I find in their system even look appealing, to just send her a message. And she gave me a new point of contact as well, who is also there for the same thing, and they're both pushing to try and get me directly in touch with any company I find with a job listing that's relevant. So everything just like really started to pop up. I think that's actually how this guy got in touch with me regarding the education stuff, was through that database. Anyways, I don't know where I was going with that. All I know is that I'm super crazy excited about all of this. You know, it's not like I haven't worked under an NDA or anything like that before, but this will definitely be one of my like bigger contracts, and I'm so excited about that. And I already have 5 pages written out just as a framework for the syllabus for an introductory course to AI. I think it's I can't wait to test some of the demos and stuff out with you guys before I end up taking it onto the floor for this. I'm just that's it. I'm gonna actually get back to working now and stop ranting about these things, as tempting as it is. But yeah, life is good. Oh, and that means that I'm probably going to be sitting around and asking some goofy questions to you guys in Discord at some point. Like, if you could go back to the beginning and tell yourself anything about AI when you were first getting into it, what would it be? Right? Like I know if I was looking back and I was just getting into it again, I would want to tell myself that I shouldn't be attached to anything the way it is now because of how quick the industry is moving. And I think that's the one thing that I would tell myself, because especially in the beginning, I was so ingrained with this is how things need to be, following a rigid structure, and expecting that those sorts of things would last forever, right? But that's not the way this field works right now. It's so flexible and so dynamic, and it's constantly changing. And I think the willingness to just be open, and that would probably be the one thing that I would have liked to have gone into this with more. All right. Let me actually look at where I'm at, and I guess it would help if I pulled up a tab with Discord in it now that the bot finally loaded, and I can go ahead and take a look at Ari and we can run through her commands. Does that say, yes, Queen, teach us like we're 5 years old? I sat down with a developer last week, and I'm sorry, this just reminded me of that. He was explaining to me this new approach they want to go ahead and take with an AI model, and it sounds really awesome, but oh my god, was it so fucking technical. And I am a firm believer in, if you can't explain something simply for just a random person to be able to go ahead and digest, then you actually don't know the subject as well as you think you do, right? The ability to go ahead and break down very complex things into very simple components is the easiest way to go ahead and teach somebody about any subject, because you can talk to them on their level and give them the foundation that they need to build up towards more complex topics. I just so I saw this proposal and I was just like, oh my god, I don't know if I can keep up with all this technical jargon, because I need somebody to explain it to me like I'm 5 so that I know what I'm getting into, because I'm in the same boat with you. AI was a lot like that for me. When I first started doing this, I literally watched a video about linear and nonlinear equations, which is super stupid high math calculations that I just hate, right? I didn't actually need to learn about the linear and nonlinear equations. I just needed to know how they factored into AI, right? So I literally found a video of a dude explaining to them with these really cute graphics of sorting berries between red berries and blueberries. And for whatever reason, stuff like that really helped me out. So I like the really toned down versions of learning that make things into super digestible content. Like, that's probably one of my favorite kind of genres of entertainment to engage in outside of just coding. All right. Oh, that's right. I was booting up Discord. There we go. Let's go ahead and drop into Ari's testing server. Ignore all of the massive amount of unread messages I have, whatever, and let's go ahead and see where we got. So, where to start? I have an add to deck command, and it used to be that we just had decks, and now we have a deck that is tied to a specific ID, right? So no longer just a generalized one, but now a database. So you can go ahead and pick from multiple decks, and we made that really simple. We can just add to deck, and there's built-in error handling with this, so that if for some reason your deck doesn't exist in the database, it makes one for you. So I'm going to add 2 cards to the deck, and then I'm going to view the deck to see what's in it. Your deck is empty. That's not great. View hand. That shouldn't be there. How about this? How about draw? Does draw work? You have not oh, that's right. I haven't selected a deck. Man, this is why commands are so important. So I created a deck, but now I need to go ahead and select that deck for play. So I'm going to select deck, and that's just deck 123. There we go. Now let's go ahead and view the contents of what's in our deck. Our deck is still empty. That's still not quite right. I thought I had this working. this is why it's not good to take breaks from projects like this, right? I can see here, looking back at this, let's see if view hand, draw. What about view deck? Did I test that? I did not test that. Okay. I just selected it. Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Now if I draw, does that command work? Hey, that command works, and if I view my hand, I do have that in my hand. I should probably, where is the hand database? Hand.xml. Yeah, go ahead and reload that. I'm going to actually pull out the card ID. We're going to save that. I want to basically make sure I know where things are falling apart right now, right? What's not working and what's not hooked up, right? And I think right now what we're looking at is that our hand is working properly, but for some reason our view deck and our actual deck isn't hooked up right. So let's go back to this. I'll restart the bot real fast. It probably won't be fast at all knowing my computer, but let's try booting her up again. The first thing I'm going to do is we're going to view hand and make sure it's empty. Good. Now we can go ahead and add stuff to our deck again to check that. So I'm just going to go ahead and add this to my deck. There we go. Now obviously view deck is still broken even if I select deck. That's going to be deck 123. View deck. Yeah, deck is empty. Let's try add to deck. Do I have to select the deck before I add a card to it? That is a great question. I do not have to. That was a question for myself that I just resolved. Yay. Now when I draw, there we go, and view hand, that's working properly. So I am drawing and viewing from the hand properly. The next thing that I'm going to have to do then is figure out why the view deck command is not hooking up to our actual deck. So where is that one? This one should actually be pretty simple because I should just need to go ahead and tie in the new logic that we figured out last week while I was off stream. View deck. Great. Okay. And now for GPT, I could go ahead and continue after this summation, but I don't actually want to do that. I want to just go ahead and edit where we left our notes. That way I can preserve the context of the model. So the first thing I'm going to do is feed it this code snippet, and then I'm going to inform it on the problem. This file, viewdeck.js, does not show the contents of the selected deck. Please alter it to do so properly. And that should realistically be about it for this prompt. Scroll. I really need to go ahead and get a mouse and stop using the damn trackpad for everything. My setup is so goddamn janky. Oh man. Oh. You know, GPT, you say that, but if I just refresh the page, it'll be fine, and I don't have to do jack squat for signing in. Your security measures are actually a joke. Let's try that once more, since I wanted to go ahead and wipe this response. All right, so what we're gonna do is the same thing we did before, since GPT wants to be all goofy with me in terms of its server authentication. There we go. So this is just the viewdeck.js isn't properly pulling the contents of the selected deck. We use alter the code and send back in full so that it does so proper. Goodness gracious. Everybody wants to be difficult. No, don't give me more errors generating the message. I swear, if GPT is gonna fall apart on me today, I'll be so super sad face. There we go. See, this is what I mean. Like, if you have an error with GPT, literally just regenerate and it'll kick it off every time. That includes their damn authentication errors and asking you to sign in. Absolutely goofy. I love the playground for what it is, but this is just one of those things that goes to show how janky it is. On top of that, the fact that I don't know if you guys have seen, but like those leaks from the chats are getting much worse. They're leaking like password information and special tokens and stuff now. Granted, unless you're willing to go ahead and lose that stuff, you should never be putting sensitive information like tokens and unique IDs into GPT-4, because the moment that that conversation gets leaked to somebody else's playground, obviously that's potentially lost information, stolen information there, right? So I I find it amusing that like these different keys and stuff are getting leaked like far more prolifically with GPT now for whatever reason. Oh, yeah, that response was obviously better because you managed to generate one without an error. God damn. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. GPT's a fickle lady these days, right? All right, let's go ahead and save our view.deck.js and see if we can't get ourselves back on the right track for at least fixing out some of these issues. So I'm going to go ahead and do node app.js for a quick restart, and then we'll swap over to Discord. All right, Ari looks like she's back online, right? Maybe? Yes, okay. So we're gonna add to deck, no deck found, deck created, and then I should probably add some different cards. Where is it? That's just I need something beyond the RNG card. Where's the other one? There should be an elf card somewhere. There it is. My goodness. So we'll add this one to the deck, and I'm actually going to add this one a couple of times so that ideally when you hand that's going to be a problem. I'm going to have like specific hand IDs too, I think. So we're going to select deck 123, and then I want to view deck. You haven't selected a deck. Fuck you. That's all I have to say. Yeah. Oh well, at least the drawing is actually randomized and not just selecting the first thing. That's at least a decent sign, but yeah, that did not work at all. Ugh. All right, let's take a look at my console log here and see if I can do anything. View hand, loading from database, processing contents. Nope, let's add to deck, view hand. I don't need that one. Where is it? Select deck. View deck. There we go. So there's no error logs here. So the first thing I'm going to ask GPT to do is to rewrite me that same thing, but shove in a bunch of error logs. No error logs found. Please rewrite the code with tons of console logs so we can see where the breakdown is. Oh no. Oh, hell yeah, I caught that right in time and managed not to sneeze on microphone. Jesus. Ugh, my face. Okay. Okay. I want to go ahead and show it the selected deck because that is going to be one of those things that gives it better reference, right? Selected deck database.js. It's not that one. It's a different one. Where is it? There it is. It's right here. Hey, I couldn't hear you have you guys hearing all of that obnoxiousness. No squeakiness for you. No bunny sneezes. Here is the select deck command for reference. I know that my whole day has been a little bit off. Can you believe I've gone the whole day without hitting a vape pen once, to the point where my neurotic ass is now looking for one? There we go. Much better. So yeah, I'm gonna let this roll with GPT. This one is gonna be pretty relaxed and chill. We are starting to get to some more complex stuff in like these databases, but we're honestly through about 50-60% of this code right now. After we do a lot of this and we tie these like unique IDs to things, at that point we'll just be designing the dungeon and different people's turns. That's it. Everything else is just going to be expandable after that, but it'll be a good state for our, what is it, for our initial launch and alpha test for folks. Because you stole the vape, yeah, that sounds about right. I I I won't fight you for it, but I'll play fight you for it. That's about that's about all I got. Oh, that's why. Okay, so wait, what is going on? Let's add detailed logging to the select deck command to trace where the breakdown occurs when a selected deck is selected but not recognized by subsequent commands by view deck. This will help us identify at which point the selected deck information is either not being saved correctly or not being retrieved as expected. So here's the updated select deck JS. Fantastic. And then we actually have, let's go ahead and save this real fast. Hello, Mr. Bimble. It's so nice of you to join us. It is always a better day when you show up, genuinely. All right, let's take a look at it's the selected deck database, right? I think that's what else we're doing. Yeah, because we worked on this last week. There we go. Modify this file to log when a deck is set for a user and when it's retrieved. This will help ensure that the deck ID is correctly being saved and accessed. So this is labeled as selected deck database. Let's see if we have that function in here, and we do not. So we're going to go ahead and put it in here, kind of like this. Fantastic. Oh, that is the selected deck. I'm a dork. That was the entire file. Oops. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Let's try this again. I'll save that and restart the bot. I am always happy to be doing stuff like this. It's one of those things that that definitely like helps me be out of my head for a while and do something else. Not always with complete focus, but a lot of times with complete focus. At least some days I manage to just work and actually work instead of ranting about things, but oh fuck. Let's see here. Okay. We're going to go ahead and hop back over here, and it's time to start adding elves to our deck. So let's find those commands that we need. There it is. Add to deck elf 110 whatever. There we go. Add that to deck, then we're gonna select deck 123, and then we're gonna view deck. And that, there we go. We're gonna go ahead and now feed the console log information to GPT, because it looks like we now have a much more comprehensive error log going on here thanks to this. So good call by GPT. Because you love to rant for us, I can't do that, but you know what? There is truth to that. I do not have the ability to rant by myself, and there are times where I just want to like fly off the handle about something, and I can't. So yeah, this is definitely nice. I do I do enjoy harassing the stuffings out of Solvig with this kind of stuff. I feel so bad for them because normally I end up just ranting to them about everything, and it's a good time. But at some point, man, does that have to wear on them. Now I like to do a lot of my goofy ranting on stream, and then I condense it for Solvig later on when we're at the damn lounge. I get, well, what have you been up to lately? Torturing people on stream with stories about me having the big day. What have you been doing? Oh, I don't know, probably something important related to like cybersecurity or you know, technology in the government. No, I'm just sitting around goofing off. It's a good time. Okay. What are we doing here? The logs you've provided us give us a clear indication of where the issue lies. Oh my god, this is probably one of the other things I need to start doing as just like a baseline in the prompt that we run for sketches and stuff like that, is for the AI to always load down the code with console logs. Something like that would probably help us out a lot. I find myself having to go back pretty consistently and ask for logs to be added just so I can get clarification after the fact. But if we had installed them properly in the first place, then we'd already know where these errors were, right? So I'm thinking this is something that we need to adjust to our main prompt in the future. So we are adjusting selected deck database because we need a different global state management. That's fine. There we go. Now, this might require some other editing down the line, not for this, but in how other functions call this, but I don't think anything is too set up to call from this. Sounds like you get the better end of the deal. Oh, I always do when I go and hang out with Solvig. Like, genuinely always. I think the only time that doesn't happen. No, I was gonna say that it's been pretty nice lately being able to watch Has Been Hotel with them, but then I realized there's nothing Solvig hates more than cliffhanger. Holy hell! So the last episode that came out, we just did a watch party last night or the night before. I can't remember. I think it was the night before, to go ahead and knock out episodes 5 and 6. And I think the exact words to me were, "This is an acceptable cliffhanger," because it wasn't nearly as dramatic as some of them that some of the episodes have had. So Solvig is like begrudgingly waiting for those last 2 episodes to come out today. and is like sitting there fingers crossed, just hoping that the season doesn't end on a cliffhanger that you, I, and everybody else in the world knows it damn well will. So yeah, I usually end up getting the best part of the deal because it normally ends with never let them read Korean mangas. Oh God, yeah, that would be awful. I could not see that happening. Or like the webtoon comics, sometimes those ones are really bad for cliffhangers and stuff like that, and then they just never update. Oh my God. Okay, let's look at this global state management. So we need to replace the current select.js and then test the workflow again. Why thank you, GPT. That was some incredibly clear instructions actually. I don't mind cliffhangers so much, but I think there's a difference between like a good cliffhanger and a bad cliffhanger. Oh God, I'm gonna bust out the extra sheet for this. We're gonna discuss cliffhangers on a literary basis, okay? So what makes a cliffhanger? There's a good one and then there's a bad one, right? I think bad cliffhangers are ones that purposefully manipulate the audience's tension, especially if they're using that to to ramp up engagement. This is like a really cheap tactic that studios use to go ahead and get people talking about their games or their stories or their shows. And I don't like it when it's so obvious that the gotcha moment to try and get people talking about it comes over the writing. The the ability to manipulate the audience into feeling a certain way for commercial engagement shouldn't supersede a story. But when story is more important, sorry, that's backwards. Engagement is more important than story. You get really bad at cliffhangers. They end up being super cheesy, and usually things that you go 5 minutes into the next episode and boom, it's all instantly resolved, right? Entirely for the purpose of market manipulation. I really, really dislike those kinds of cliffhangers. Good cliffhangers, on the other hand, because there are tons of ways to go ahead and use a cliffhanger for good. One of the ways that you can go ahead and use them is to wrap up a story that might not have the ability to see another season, right? And you do that by leaving things more open but not so dramatic, right? There's not the purposeful manipulation there. You are essentially trying to set up the story. A really good example of this is actually Netflix's spin on The Tick. It only got greenlit for 2 seasons, and the ending ended up in season 2 with a familiar threat being faced again. And both your heroes basically walking out into the sunset to fight crime, right? This was a really nice way to go ahead and have a cliffhanger that opened up for the potential of a whole nother season. You know, you see the face of a familiar villain coming back into play, and you're like, oh hell yes, I can't believe this just happened in the last 10 minutes, right? And it's really great. But the difference there between that cliffhanger and a bad cliffhanger would have been, oh no, the villain is back 10 minutes before the season wraps up and he's murdered the hero's entire family, right? That is not a great cliffhanger by comparison, because that is something that purposefully twists and manipulates the audience's perception of the show to go ahead and get a rise out of folks. And that kind of stuff just means that the marketing is more important than the actual writing, and telling a good story is so goddamn important when it comes to the marketing aspect, because people want the ability to get attached to these things. There was an anime that got cut off from the rest of 12. Oh no. 12 episodes, they only got half of it, and it ended right when the main character made a story changing decision, and then we never got to see the consequences. Oh my god, that has to be infuriating. Yeah, that's kind of what happened with The Tick. They had 2 seasons, right? And they were expecting it to go ahead and get greenlit by Netflix again, but it didn't. And they didn't have that information when they were wrapping up season 2 and putting these edits on it. So they did a really smart thing, and even though every episode left with a cliffhanger, like that was just the way the series was set up, was you'd have plot, cliffhanger, intro to the next show would be resolution, plot, cliffhanger, right? So they went ahead and kept with that same metric. The only difference this time was that they made sure that it had the ability to be treated as a uh conclusion or like a secular story if people wanted to of however fighting that villain was going to go. So it was much less of the emotional rug pull. The TV show Reaper ended just like that, not the story change, but the bad guy winning. Oh man. Yeah, I don't mind subverting an audience's expectations. I don't think that there's anything wrong with it, but I think there's good ways and bad ways to do everything. And I don't think cliffhangers are necessarily the best place to subvert an audience's expectations. And this isn't, I should say, this is not like a problem that's just on uh the the writers. This is more so on like the studios pressuring the writers and the editors to go ahead and get a specific something out of the timeline of the show. All right, I'm supposed to be testing this file now. Oops. Okay. I reset the bot, and now we're gonna go ahead and add our goofy ass little elf card. Come here, Legolas. Okay. Added that to the deck. Now we're gonna select the deck. Deck 123. Oh, that's let's see here. Can we view it? Oh, damn you. Oh, we were so close. No. Ah. All right. There's got to be some mm, I that we've got to make some changes to the view deck JS. Like, I know GPT was suggesting before that we didn't, but clearly the way that it's pulling those global values is not working, right? So I'm going to go ahead and prompt it again with what our view deck JS actually looks like. View card, view hand, view deck. Here we go. Here is the view deck command for reference. There we go. All right. The studio keys, damn, they do love cliffhangers. Yeah, that that is a thing that will always work out for them in terms of marketing. More in sense of when you watch the penultimate episodes, you can't by any chance. Yeah, yeah, and I think since usually in the last episode some crazy shit happens and your perception changes almost everything. Yes. Yeah, so that's the whole like subverting the audience expectations, doing something that isn't totally expected, and then getting that shock and awe moment out of it, right? I watched a movie lately that was very trope heavy and really leaned into itself, and I found it much better for that. It was actually the Dungeons and Dragons movie, the one that just came out, and that movie was like full of tropes. There pretty much wasn't a single plot device that couldn't be called or seen in advance with just a little bit of literary knowledge, right? Like I remember sitting there with Solvig because I have no other friends. Shush your faces. So I was sitting there with Solvig, and we're watching the movie, and we're literally calling out what's going to occur, right? Plot beats ahead of when it's going to happen because of these different things that has been set up. None of that stopped it from being a good movie. The ability for that story to lean so heavily into itself and what it was and not feel cheesy because of it was a good way to show that studios don't have to subvert expectations when they have a really solid franchise that they're trying to make something out of. And I think too many people are just in it for like the shock and awe value. I think the early 2000s really started a lot of this, and I'd say probably the 2010s more so, where these like gotcha moments in TV were just so much fun, and writers started to prize the idea of, and I quote, stump the dummy versus leaning into well written literary tropes. And I think that that overall choice and direction of not just like a single studio but in general has kind of had this shift in a lot of different mediums that's lent them towards not necessarily being as authentic as some media has been in the past. Like I will not lie to you. I cried like a big old baby at the end of the Dungeons and Dragons movie, and not because I didn't see any of it coming, but because the narrative was always building up to that place and it made the emotional payoffs really grand in that sense. So there are ways I think that these writers and a lot of these studios can get back into just having an actual good story with 3 acts, with a couple of nice tropes sprinkled in, and maybe something to go ahead and break them as well. But go ahead and setting up the audience's engagement for like 12 episodes or 20 episodes or a 3 hour long fucking movie, and then at the 10-minute mark till the end, they're like, oh, by the way, everything you knew was a goddamn lie. Like, that is almost as frustrating as I don't. I'm sorry. We're just ranting now. I know you guys have seen this trope where what is it called? It was all a dream. Like you wake up and nothing was real. That's essentially what these like rug pulls and bad cliffhangers remind me of. It's the ability to go ahead and just have have the narrative not fucking matter. None of that work. Nothing the heroes did. That entire journey meant nothing when writers use this trope. It is very frustrating. I very rarely have seen it was all a dream end well, but that was, I'd say, probably like more popular in the early 2000s for this particular trope, and it's something that is incredibly hard to play off well, and it is evolved unfortunately into the point of just like ripping away what the audience knows right up at the end for a lot of movies. I don't appreciate that. The literary gotchas have to be better than just know you're wrong. And that's because you're sappy. You know what? I am very sappy when it comes to movies. You know it's bad when I'm sitting there and I'm like, I know exactly what's happening. This is so dumb. I'm not gonna cry. And then 5 minutes later, I'm passing out tissues. Good times. Oh no, do we singleton pattern. Yeah, I know that's what we're using. I would like to continue using that. You can use an in-memory database like Redis for or write to a JSON file as a simple database, ensuring that the read and write up. It should be. Oh, I'm I'm gonna. Mm, yeah, I know we're using this is GPT getting into a bad loop, and I'm probably gonna have to go ahead and restart the thread. So essentially what's happening is our uh where is it? we've got tons of different databases here, right? We've got spells and items and all kinds of other stuff, and those all worked great. But our selected deck database.js, that doesn't do jack shit. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and feed it what our other databases look like and ask it to go ahead and essentially replicate it, not with this singleton format or whatever it's using, because clearly that state management is not tracking with the way this bot is set up. I want to see the new Henry Cavill movie. It actually looks like a lot of fun, a fun film for a character, and it sounds like the D&D film may also be fun. Yeah, the D&D film was a lot of fun. I think there was I can say this, there was one moment that totally subverted my expectations, and I actually like from a writer's perspective. Okay, so you see the main two characters, and they've got very distinct designs, and you're like, oh my god, this is so cool, right? Uh, and then you're going through the movie, the plot is progressing, and you're getting towards the end of Act 1. And then the plot wants to go ahead and introduce a new character. It says, and then it says it's going to introduce a new character, and it brings you to where that new character is. So it brings you there, and you see this character, or I should say, you see what the writers want you to think this new character is. And she has the same fucking design as one of the main protagonists. So I got really frustrated initially watching the Dungeons and Dragons movie, because I was like, why are you going to go ahead and introduce another character that has like the same note for note design as the main character? And they weren't. They totally had a nice little bait and switch there of, this is what you get, oh, this is not actually what you get. And it worked really well. It was a nice little surprise in there. I'm just trying to wrap that up in a way that's not spoilery. And the other thing that I will say is that in regards to that movie, and this has absolutely nothing to do with literary tropes or anything like that, I did enjoy having a character within that movie that I did not care for in terms of the protagonist, right? I did not particularly care for the druid's personality, especially at the start of the entire thing, right? But her actual character arc, development, the spot she played in the story, and everything like that, it actually grew on me pretty well, and I ended up really liking her character by the end of it. And I do have a thing for movies and plot lines in general that can take your expectations of a character and you just go, man, I really don't like this. And that's okay, because you don't expect to enjoy every main character, right? And then by the end of it, you're rooting for them. Like, that's some good, solid writing. Okay, I'm gonna shove this thing, our spell database, because it should be pulling from a JSON or XML file. That's what we use. And I'm gonna be nice. I'm not gonna call this bot a dingus, even though I really want to. We use an XML format for every other database. Can't you just set it up like our other ones? And this is the spell, it's a spell database, right? Is that what we're calling this? Yeah, spell database.js. Now, my hope is that at least before I get out of here today, because I have so much to do, unfortunately, like, I really want to stay and I want to ramble all day. That would be really nice, but I don't want to put off this proposal or anything too long. So I figured this would be a nice little break while I got my brain together about what to put in the damn seminar, right? There's so much content to cover. Oh well, we'll get there. Resisting the urge to fangirl over Morgana, speaking of characters that grow on you. Ooh, you will definitely have to tell me more about that one. Alright, are we getting something comprehensible out of this? Key points. This script assumes the XML structure for storing selected decks. That's fine. There we go. That's what I just wanted. Thank you. I didn't think it was gonna be that hard. Oh man. Alright, so selected deck database is now being moved into an XML format. Which quite frankly is what it should have been in the first place. And then I'm gonna have to go ahead and set up an XML file. And then I'm just gonna prompt it real quick because I'm lazy. Show me an example of the XML file I need for this. Thanks. And while that's cooking, we'll just go ahead and use this and save this in our database as the selected, what is it? Selected deck database .xml. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, it's just labeling that as selected decks.xml. Okay, well, that is actually important to know. Deck or decks? Because I swear to God that S will kill me every time. S, okay. Let's try that again. And I'm going to change this ID real quick because I can. It'll make things easier for testing. There's a character that only appears in 5 episodes of an arc that I felt more attached to than some protagonists for whole seasons. Yeah, it really do be like that sometimes. Those side characters, they'll sneak up on you. Alright, let's restart this. app.js and cool. We loaded in without any errors. That's a great start. Let's add our elf cards to our deck. I'm going to add like 3 of them. And now we're going to select it. Select deck 123. And then I want to view deck. Error reading the selected deck XML file. Well, honestly, that is, it's better than what we got before. What is this? Dex333.xml? What is it? What? Well, that's, now I'm confused. Okay. Why? It shouldn't. There's an endpoint issue in the deck database, isn't it? Yeah. I bet you there's an endpoint issue. Here we go. RE database selected decks.xml. That is actually the correct path. Well, now I'm confused. It shouldn't be pulling that at all. So I am assuming that we have an issue with our viewDeck.js. We're going to need to go ahead and curb that. But now that it's on the same system as everything else, this should be less problematic. So let's feed that back in. That's fantastic. But now we're getting some other errors. So we'll feed it this, and then we'll go ahead and feed it our view deck.js. Do we need to modify the view deck.js to fit the current XML structure being pulled? Because it's yoinking files that don't exist versus our database. Okie dokie. And we will see if that does much of anything. And the answer is hopefully. So once this system gets, yeah, I know it's attempting to read deck 333. The entire point is that that deck doesn't exist. And oh my goodness, okay. It shouldn't have been trying to view that deck. I wanted to view deck 123. Why? Do I need to view decks based on ID? Would that work? I think that might be more what I need to go ahead and switch this code over towards, because if it's at least viewing the decks by ID, then it's only pulling that specific info, not necessarily the one that you've selected. I'm going to go ahead and give this code a shot, but if not, we'll go ahead and change that logic out. And ideally, you're going to be getting, I'll be getting a little bit more of a concise response then. This goofy ass little thing. Honestly, part of it is just how long this conversation is. Like, there is a point where we're keeping GPT going for too long, at least in terms of coding problems, is going to go ahead and just feed back degraded responses. It's just one of those things that comes with using a model like this. So I'm going to have to be careful, and maybe I'll set this up next week so that we can break into a fresh session. Ideally, I won't have any more problems then. So let me go ahead and just restart this. There we go. And we'll go ahead and boot up the usual string of commands. We'll add that elf into our deck. It created the deck, and then we're going to go ahead and select it. There we go. And then we want to go ahead and view what's in it. Come on. The selected deck, deck 123, does not exist. Except it does, you bastards. Alright. I'm definitely gonna have to go to making this, yeah, go ahead and open that. Yeah, because you can check here, and it actively says that deck 123 is here, right? That's my problem, is that the deck does now technically exist in the database, and it's just not pulling. So we're going to go ahead and ask it to rework it since this didn't work. Files exist proper now, but we're still not pulling the deck. Can you instead pull the contents of the XML via ID, i.e. deck 123 pulls the data from that specific entry in the deck XML. Is it deck or decks? This will forever, plural, will be the worst for me when it comes to this. Yeah, deck database.xml. I mean, as much as I hate to go ahead and essentially remove the work that we've done on the selected deck, right? This may be the way that we have to do it for the moment. I'm not sure, but some more troubleshooting in my off time will go ahead and fix it, because Lord knows that that gives me the ability to do just about anything, is me sitting there for 6 hours and hammering away plugins until something eventually fucking works, you know? The good times. Uh, and the other downside that comes with GPT threads getting so long, especially in the playground and especially when you're working on code, is it does affect the output. And you wouldn't think it would, and it actually doesn't. So here's how this works, right? GPT will go ahead and actually have like the full response loaded and done for you before it ever actually sends it to you. What it does is it streams the response so that you get the little letter-based output, right? That takes a little bit of time and some animation, and unfortunately doing that in a playground environment like this where these threads are just exponentially taxing on the service, it does not do well with text generation at this point, as you guys can clearly see, because we're still waiting for the first character to show up. And this is something that only happens when these models get to these like insane amounts of context and length. Like we have easily shoved through like 10,000 lines of text to this particular bot, and it is just falling apart apparently. So I actually think we may call it here, cause yeah. The model is currently overloaded with other requests. You can retry your requests or contact us through our help center. I I think OAI is having a bad day. I'm gonna go ahead and give this one more shot, but I think regardless, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. This is probably my cue to go ahead and start a new thread for this particular situation and do some troubleshooting off stream while I get some other stuff worked out. But hey, we at least found what the root issue was for this, and we were able to go ahead and take steps to correct it. So today was not a total loss in terms of working on the TCG bot. We are just getting to the point where we are refining the way these different systems hook up to each other initially. So that's gonna be about it for me. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you later. And yes, I'm gonna write all of the proposals. It's gonna be awesome. I can't wait to talk to you guys tomorrow, and ideally in the next few days, I'll at least have a yes or no on this. So bye. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye.